party started here. Alright, so I'm opening up Sublime. Run it. No. My desktop. Okay, open up my CSS as well. So I've got, in Sublime, I've got my CSS and my HTML documents open there. And we left off with, we're working on our header, right? Okay, so, oh, I thought I had this open. Open this up on the desktop. Okay, so we were working on our header, and so we've got our spacing here for this item, the same thing as the center and the right, which looks pretty weird in my way of thinking. And I would like to change that. All right, so this headline right here is really kind of only accidentally centered. But if we were to use this like as a template page, and I had a much longer headline, that just would really look dumb in this space. So I'm just going to go back into my HTML and give myself an example of what it would look like if I had more text. Just going to copy paste a little bit in there. What if I had a really long headline? It's not terrible. No, it's not terrible, but yeah, exactly. Copy paste a couple more. What I'd prefer to do is to actually set up my spacing correctly. All right, set my space here larger, much larger than my logo and my my nav there. So I'm going to go back to Sublime, and I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to text align in the header. So this is going to be in my styles. I'm looking for header. Thank you. Happy to do that. Just forget, that's all. All right. So align. Oh, I've already done this. Align item center. Sorry. Oh, yeah, I passed that. Okay, here we go. Text align center. Text align. Text align center there in my header. Let's see here. Go back. That's not exactly what I intended. I don't want to center this up because I want this to be all the way to the left. What I need to do is I need to put that text align center in here, right there. So take that line and put it down under title text because that's the actual area that we're working with. Okay. It's an iterative process. Okay, so I want each of these also to have a little bit of breathing room between them. So let's see here. I'm going to go back into these items, and I'm going to give myself a little bit of a margin for each. Now, ideally, yeah, I'll just go ahead and give them a 10 pixel margin. Copy, and there we go. That will help them a little bit. Breathing room. I did that on this item, and this item, and those are right here. Header logo, header title text, and nav. I just copy pasted margin 10 pixel in there. Yes?
Copy pasted your friend.
That's right.
On the clear boat,
Yes.
sometimes I've noticed it going at the very bottom of all of your different items, and then sometimes like this, we have a line item center below that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that affect how things look?
Not at all. Shouldn't. You know, I shouldn't make absolute statements. I shouldn't make absolute statements because it's going to prove me a liar at some point. I have never seen that. I've never seen it affected where you put it in there. Not to my knowledge. You can neither confirm nor deny. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go back into my week 5 because all I really want is bout schedule here. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure bout schedule is the only text in there. Just going to look at it real quick. Yeah, okay. So now what we want to do is we want to declare this space right here to be much smaller than this space because we want to give that headline as much space as we need. I want this logo to be all the way to the left. I want this navigation to be all the way to the right. If I right align this in here, what'll happen is it'll right align the text. All right, so I don't want that. I want left aligned, but I want it all the way to the right. If that makes sense?
So you want it to float?
It's floating already. Yeah, I just want it to move to the right. You can actually do that without floating it. Let's see here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use. What we could do is simply change our aspect ratios. So you remember under flex right here, we said this is 1 wide, this is 1 wide, and this is 1 wide. Well, what that did is it divided into thirds. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I would like you to experiment. I would like you to change the flex grow numbers such that this is very small over to the left, this is very small to the right, and the rest of the space is taken up by the headline. Okay, so this is on you right now. Try and figure out what values you would use to get that to happen and make it look good. Emery. That work? Okay. That's fine. Okay, you see what you need now?
Yeah. So
What
you
did-
essentially want the box outside of the logo to match the box around the logo picture.
If you can, that would be ideal. Yeah. May not be possible. But Flex is really powerful in that it tries to preserve content, whereas some of the other things really kind of mess up your layout. Flex does a pretty good job of keeping it all together. Mike, I figured you'd be done by now.
Yeah, and we just need to
It's really not changing.
Yeah.
Really?
I just turned the 1 into a 10 in the middle one.
Okay. Change that to a 10.
I'm more cautious.
It doesn't seem
I
to
actually
change a
put
whole
that-
lot between like 10 and 20 because I just kept growing it.
Okay.
I've actually been doing decimals on that first line. It's been shrinking the box.
You can. Yeah. You could do that. You can use decimals in here, but the nice thing is that these are all relational numbers. You don't have to. You can use whole numbers.
5 to 10 is the same thing as 1 to 20.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So you just use integers in there. All right. So what I got when I was practicing this was 1, 10, and 2. I felt that one worked best for me. Somewhere in there. So is this what you got, Amy? Is this more or less what you got?
Yeah. I mean, I changed my back to 10, but it changed so little
Mm.
between the 10 and the 20 that it wasn't worth making the number that big.
Gotcha. Is that making sense? You can use those grow values to change up that ratio. And it's very convenient. It's very fast too. All right. So, Emery, back. Bet. Okay, we're going to have to go on in a minute because I think everybody's done. Okay. Okay. The other thing that you could do in here is you could do percentages where it says auto. If you wanted 10% in that first one, 80% in the second one, 10% in the right one, you could do that. I just find it really fast and intuitive to use those grow numbers. That one really works for me. It seems very quick and effective. The nice thing is they give you those 3 different options if that's how you think about it. Okay. I think we're going to have to move on here, Emery. Okay. Now on to the main content. We are going to have many rows of monster bouts, right? Because this is our schedule. So we got May 3 here, we got 2 monsters, we got a versus, and we're going to have many more of these. If you go back and look at the target image that I showed you on Tuesday, you'll see there was several in there. All right. Should we declare our main item, right? That's all the content right here, to be a flex row? That's the question.
I don't think all of it. Yeah, I don't think all of it. I think just mainly the pictures.
Why not? Why not the whole main?
Do your main third ends up
Yeah.
coming down.
What happens?
The main third comes
Yeah.
down beside your monsters.
Okay, you're right. Right, because basically this needs to be its own row. This right here, the monster versus monster here, that needs to be its own row. And then we're going to move down to the next item, which will be the date, more monsters, date, more monsters, right? So each of those items needs to be its own flex row. Okay, does that make sense? All right. So instead, yeah, exactly. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be we're going to wrap each row in its own div container and declare it to be a flex row. So we're going to need to go back to our HTML. Here we go. On schedule. All right, so here we go. This item right here needs to be its own row, doesn't it? Okay. So this is going to be a div. We have to wrap it in a div. That's what it likes. And I'm going to give it a class name of date row. I'm going to end my div after that. Why not give it an ID? Instead of a class. James? We're going to have more than one, right. So IDs are only good for one item. But a class you can apply to many items. So it makes sense then to apply a class to that. Question?
No, that was it.
So if you use the same ID tag
You can.
on different items, what will happen? They want to apply the effects to
Bad things.
So the way to differentiate for me here is ID individual class group.
It will throw errors. I don't. The last time I did it, I can't remember what the results were. But I have done it before. I think I've made every mistake. At some point or another, it will cause errors, especially if you're trying to apply JavaScript to it. You're trying to grab that. It probably will just fail. So make sure IDs only do one ID per div item, but classes you can apply to all manner of things. All right. So this is so we can manipulate all the date rows at the same time. If we wanted to manipulate those date rows one at a time, we could give them each their own individual ID, but we don't need to in this case. All right. So now we need to go back into our styles and create a style for date row, starting off with a period, right? We tell it display flex. Tell it flex direction. Row or column? Row. I want the text to be white. And I'm going to give it a little bit of space around it. So I'm going to set my margin at 0.4 em. Save that.
There we go. Wait. Margin at 4.4 m, not
EM. They're called ems.
No, that kind of throws me off because when you're dealing with margin, you usually use pixels.
Pixels, yep. I'm shaking it up on you. You can use it all Yeah, you
Curse you, curse you, instructor. Why are you tripping me up so much?
I want you to experience it all.
Truthfully, EMs is probably used more.
Yeah.
Because you want it to change as your text changes.
Right. The beauty of Flexbox and using Flexbox for layout is that it's relational. It's like an accordion. You squash and stretch. So you want to, in many cases, use those relational values like ems, so that it all kind of the spaces work relationally.
Okay. So using EM here to accommodate the text.
EM is relative to the font size of the
Mm-hmm. Ember?
big
Oh, well,
font.
I was
Yeah.
if a user has a small handheld device versus, like desktop, it'll work across all of them.
Right. That's the beauty of it. Emery? Say again? The margin for date row is 0.4 em. You say it ems. They're ems. This literally comes from the width of an M.
Of course it does.
0.4 ems wide.
Almost half
Yes.
an M. Less than half an M.
If it was 2 ends in there,
40%.
I was designing a catalog for a bow maker, and we sent off the proof to the client to make revisions on, and they sent it back, circled the item, and said, "Move this a tad to the right and 2.5 tads down." That's what an M is like, right? It's a relational.
it's like a pinch.
Yeah, a pinch, a scotch, it's whatever. Okay, so there we go. That's
Yeah, I would probably been smart aleck and just put tad in there.
Tad's done. All right. Okay, so let's see here. Date row. I'm also going to give this a... Uh-oh. Did I make a mistake here? That'll learn you.
So we need to have this a tad to the right.
Okay.
And a tad down.
I made a mistake, guys. I got off. All right. Flex direction row. Okay. I'm taking these two off. Align items. I skipped down to the next one. It was my fault. Align items. I'm going to set that to center. We'll do the M's in the next one. And background color. Of number D78 A1D.
So is there like a widely accepted preference of using hex over just the name of the color? Or capital letters versus lowercase? I know.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that.
Because if I'm reading the code and I see that, I don't know what color that is.
Yeah.
You learn to do a relative, but you gotta understand it.
Yeah. If you want to get into learning how to work hex colors, you can. The information is out there. The reason I don't at all is because Photoshop and Illustrator do it for me, and a good text editor will allow me to see the color wheel. So I just click on it, and then bing, there you go. So. Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah. That is nice. Okay. All right, so we have to do, because we put a wrapper on it, and this is the code for the wrapper, we also have to put in the code for the item that's inside of it, because that has to correspond with the flex row, okay? So this is going to be dot date row, and it is the H1 that's inside of it. Okay, so we have to say now flex, give it its dimensions, which is going to be 1, 1 auto. Text align will be center. Color white, oops, color colon white. Margin. Here's my M's. You can see why I got confused, right? Give me a little slack. There we go. There's our M.
Dare you?
Oh, I know. You have to deal with me being more than human here. More human than usual.
It's all machine now.
Let's save. So, okay, I'm going to wait. While you guys are still typing.
So are we going to do the same thing for a monster row class?
We are. Yeah, we're gonna wrap that monster row.
Div, and we'll probably call it monster row.
Something like that.
I copied some.
Okay. I did not see. All right, so something didn't happen right. It looks like date row H1. Do flex auto text align. Center. Flex. 1 auto. Text align. Center. Color white. Margin. Foreground. Something doesn't look right. Background color. What's going on?
That's why.
Yeah, my background color is not working.
Did you save your HTML?
Sure. Oh, okay. Maybe that was it.
I ran into the same problem. It's like, wait, did I save my HTML? Did I save it?
I knew that I saved my CSS. Okay, so is this what everybody got?
Yeah.
Should have. Okay.
This just goes
Excellent.
to show. Save, save, save.
Save early. It's like voting. Save early, save often, right?
Because my H1 is a different shade than my round bit.
Huh.
I have 2 shades.
You're just an overachiever.
I don't know where. It's picking it up.
Okay. All right, so now how do we format the contender row? All right, so that's going to be this one right here. This is going to be our contenders for our about.
Taking a guess and saying we're going to do kind of a rinse and repeat.
Rinse, repeat, exactly. So we want to take our our big monster, our verses, and our big monster 2, and also wrap them in a div. We're going to call that contender row. Div, and it's going to be an ID or a class?
Class.
Excellent. Excuse me. Okay, I'm also going to okay, so each of these items here, I've got my wrapper here, but each of these items also has to go in its own div. Otherwise, if I manipulate that content, if I say div image, or I'm sorry, if I put in there the image and I say it's 100%, it's going to stretch that puppy out, right? I want to make the space that it's in the Flexbox. So I'm going to put in here div, and I'm going to say class equals monster pick. I'm going to do that for each of those.
Monster pick for all of them, or we monster pick one, monster pick two versus class?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to do monster pick for the two monsters. All right, so the two monsters will be here,
Okay.
and I'm going to do a different one for the versus. Okay. So is that making sense so far?
I was wondering how you were going to do it because I worked a little ahead, and now my verse is the size of my monster.
Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be a div class, and I'm going to set that to versus VS. Short and sweet. Yeah, don't. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, do make sure when you go through these, you're going to have an opening div and a closing div for each of those images. Otherwise, things will break. It'll be carnage everywhere. It'll be carnage everywhere anyway. We've got monsters. Okay, anybody still writing this? Are we all good? Okay. So it should not have changed much of anything. Woo! Maybe it did. Haha. It did because I have not set up some basic rules. Right. So let's go back to our CSS. And I want to make sure be on the right spot. Okay, so first thing, the end is going to be our contender row. That's the wrapper div, right? We got to tell it to display flex. Tell it which direction to go. I'm going to say justify content and space between. What that should do is it should equally space the items. Justify content, go space between. Should give them equal spacing, and then align items center. Okay. What's that? Good. Well, we haven't got them yet. Items. Yeah, looks like I got one more item here. I'm going to give it some padding of 1M. Now I'm going to need a rule for the monster pick image, verse, and verse image. Okay. Are we done with this? We're good? Did I hear a no?
Just need that.
You got to speak up for my deaf ears. If I'm going too fast, let me know. Okay. Bring it up here. Okay, dot monster pick because it is a class. And that is our div. It's not the actual image. And we're going to say flex, and then give it our aspect ratio. I'm going to say 3, 1 auto. Text align. Center. Then I'm going to change my dot monster pick image. Monster pick image. And give it a width. Actually, I'll just take this out for a second. If I go back and view this, these are very big. All right, I'm going to make those a little bit smaller. Actually, I'm going to make those a little bit bigger in this case because my browser width is really wide. Let's try it. Let's try it. Let's give it a width. See what the effect is. Give it a width of 80%. Image. Yeah, so I'm specifically addressing the image part of that. So this is the wrapper div for that monster, and then inside of it I'm dealing with that individually. All right. There we go. That feels good in that space. So the justify content should space everything out nice and equally, and then your align content center is going to center everything within the row this way, vertically, which is really nice. I like that about Flexbox. All right, let us go to we're gonna set our verses there now. Set our verses rule. And this is a class, right? Versus. Yep. So we're going to set our flex attributes. I'm going to say 2, 1 auto. And I also want that to be text aligned, center. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the image, right? So dot versus image. I'm going to set the width to 100% and show you why you need to use the appropriate resolution for your images. What's up, brother?
That's horrible.
Isn't it horrible?
I expected better from you, Dennis.
It's only got 27 pixels. It's doing what it can.
Yeah, it's working hard. No, but this serves to show you why you should use the proper resolution for things.
Or you use SVG.
Or use SVG, which you don't need resolution to deal with because it's resolution independent. Yep. Okay, so in theory, you should have gotten something that looks like that, right? Okay. So can somebody explain what is happening here?
You're stretching the raster image beyond its capacity.
It's fixed. Yeah, exactly. Proper term for that is
Potato quality.
what is it?
Potato quality.
Potato quality. All right. It's aliased. That's what they call that. Aliasing. All right. So computer chunkies. That's what that is right there. And that's bad, in case you didn't notice. All right.
That's
So in
good.
chapter
My
7,
eyesight was going bad.
in chapter 7, we look at providing multiple sources for a particular image, so that if you've got different resolutions, it'll give you the right one at the right file size. That's really important because download times are so important that you don't want to just use one image, right? You don't want to make this great big image and shrink it down, nor do you want to use a really small image and blow it up because that's the quality you get. All right, so almost done here. So I'm going to go back into my HTML and give some names here for our monsters. I'm going to put it right here in. Let's double check.
So if that versus image, the width is set at 100%, then it's 100% of what it
Of the
was.
div. Of the
100% of the div.
of the div.
Okay.
Yeah, we gave the Flexbox a value of 2, and then we said within that, make it 100% width. Yeah.
So it pretty much doubled in size because of that.
Yep. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anybody confused about that? I will try and explain it in different words if you're confused. Okay. Okay. So we've got to give our names here, our about monsters here. I'm going to go ahead and put a break in here. I'm in my HTML. Whoops, not the dot here. I'm in my HTML where I've got my monster image. I'm going to put a break character in there and say that's Bradley Monster. And then after the Amber Monster, I'm going to put in a break. Amber Monster. Okay. Go back and view it. I should get the names right at the very bottom. You can put those in H1 if you would like. It's okay by me. They seem really small down there. It's up to you. H. It's up to you. Up to you. Regarding accessibility, if that's what you're referring to, it probably would be better to put an H, not an H1, because we're using our H1 at the top. At least an H2, right? That would be better for semantic markup or accessibility. Okay, so now in order to get more rows, we need to make sure we're going to copy paste the right stuff. So I've got 2 rows in here within the main, so I'm going to copy, go down a little bit, I'm going to paste that, and I'm going to change this from May 3, where are you? Here we go. So May 5. May 5 is going to have Alex Monster. Versus Gavin Monster. And I'm going to change the monster numbers here to 3 and 4. Just going to just double check this. Go ahead and save that where it is. Back. And you should be getting this. Right? Is anybody not getting that row? Should be getting different monsters, different names. One more row I'm going to put in here. And this will be May 11. will be Jacob monster versus DeAndre monster I'm going to change the monster images to 5 and 6. Emery. Oh, yeah, feel free. So I should now have basically 3 bouts scheduled. May 3, May 5, May 11, and all different monster picks in there, all different names.
Yeah, and the monster picture number for that third row is 5 and 6, right?
For the third row is 5 and 6. Yep. Yeah. Last thing I'm going to do is remove in my styles. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to comment out my border, right? Because that makes everything not so pretty. Okay, commenting out the wild card border. Say it again. May 3, 5, and 11. You could make whatever you want. It doesn't really matter.